All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Chad with Advising Men. Please subscribe to the channel so you get all my videos as they come out. Click the notification bell and also like and comment on the videos. It really helps me out. I'd appreciate it. Now, what we're going to talk about today is getting your ex back versus moving on. I've been talking to a guy, kind of talking him through, navigating him through a mess that he's in right now. And we did kind of a pros and cons list just so he could see for himself, and he could put together himself what he thinks he should ultimately do with the relationship. And so I wanted to go through some pros and cons that would naturally happen, or pros and cons that are going to be very common, so that you guys could also think about it and be able to put together your own pros and cons list to see if you want to remain in a relationship, or if you've been dumped, if you even want to get her back. Because if you've been dumped, then you're on an emotional roller coaster right now, but you could still be in a relationship that's not going well. It's not going well, and you haven't sat back and said, okay, what are the pros and cons of this? What's best for me? So I have some notes here I want to go through with you. We'll start with getting the ex back. Okay. The pros to getting your ex back is, number one, that things go back to normal. It goes back to how it was. Because usually when you get dumped, you have all this anxiety, you're upset and everything. You just want it to go back to the way it was. Even if the way it wasn't that great, you still want it to go back to that way because it was normal. You were used to that. And you'd gotten accustomed to whatever that looked like. So you want to get back to normal. That's the number one thing. The second thing is that you stop feeling the anxiety. You stop feeling the emotions of being dumped. All that kind of subsides. There's still some anxiety, and we'll get to that a little later, but at least you're not broken up with. At least you're together with the woman you think is going to be the love of your life. Next, you don't have to tell anyone that you're broke up. You don't have to tell your family. You don't have to tell your friends. You can just keep it under wraps, never happened, and you can just act like, oh, this never happened, everything's fine, we're perfect. And you don't have to deal with anything. The other thing is, revolving around that, is you maintain the optics. Because a lot of people, look at social media. They could have the worst relationship in the world, but they sure look good on social media. So you end up maintaining the optics on Instagram and Facebook of how great your relationship is, and you can post memes and everything about each other and all that, and no one has to know that the relationship really sucks. So the optics, because it's so important to people now, is really one of the main things that people want to maintain. And sometimes they'll stay with somebody just because they look good, even though they're not meant for them. So, something to think about. Next, you get back to the schedule. So, if you see your girlfriend on a certain night or certain nights or days of the week, that's back on the schedule. It gets you back to that normal kind of feeling of, okay, it's Wednesday. I'm going to see her at 7:00 like I always do every single week. Because you basically, however long you've been with this girl, you're trained. You've trained your body, you've trained your mind to every day at this time, I see her. And so you just get back to that normal structure. And then that also relieves anxiety and relieves tension, because when you got broke up with, or if you break up, then you won't have that schedule anymore. And your mind and your body are going to be like, what's going on here? What am I supposed to do? So the schedule, that's a big thing. You also don't have to deal with any of the problems. When you get back together, a lot of times, you either get back together or you think you're going to break up, and you might do something. You might like, oh, well, let me read this book. Let me watch these videos. Let me whatever. To try to do a little better so that you're doing a little better and you're improving the relationship a little bit, but you haven't ripped the Band-Aid off. And you're not willing to rip the Band-Aid off and say, hey, we've got issues that need to be dealt with. Let's get on this. Because you're not leading the relationship. You're not leading the relationship in the direction it needs to go to be better. So, I mean, things that have been done is, oh, I'll read these books. I'll watch these videos. Sometimes when people get back together, they even get pregnant. How many people do you know? Because I know people. But how many people do you know where they broke up, they got back together, and all of a sudden she's pregnant? Because I know 3 different people that has been the case. And all 3 times, it really wasn't planned. It just kind of happened because maybe she was on birth control and then you broke up, so she went off birth control, then you got back together, and all of a sudden, and she thought it was fine, but it isn't, and now there's a baby. So now you're back with a woman that you have problems with, that you haven't worked on anything with, and now you have a kid together. So, something to watch out for sure. Now, those are the pros. Those are the pros. Let's go to the cons, okay? The cons of getting your ex back. You don't have enough time away from her to realize the flaws, to see the holes and what needed to be fixed in the relationship. If you break up and you have time away, that gives you time to reflect. But if you just get back with your ex or you don't end the relationship, then you have no time to reflect, okay? Secondly, there's always a natural lack of trust that develops. So if you got dumped, you're naturally not going to trust that person. I mean, if you do, it's blind trust, and that's another huge issue you need to deal with. But you're not going to trust that person. So that's something that I think a lot of people don't even look at. They don't even think about. Because, I mean, if you have a lack of trust, what you have to think about it this way. There was a moment in time where this person thought so little of you that she could break up with you, knowing full well you would be devastated. You would be upset. It would hurt your feelings. But at that moment in time, she didn't care. It was more important to her for her to break up with you so it could relieve her feelings than it was for her to hurt you. So that would naturally develop a lack of trust. And that's a huge con in a relationship, because even if you get back with your ex, that trust has to be rebuilt. And most people don't know how to do that. And it ends up, the relationship ends up ending anyways. So that's a huge, huge deal. Another huge deal is, and this is what this guy is experiencing because of the way that he handled things before I talked to him. She has all the power in a relationship. So she dumps you. You beg for her back. She takes you back. So she dumps you, that gives her power. She takes you back, that gives her power. So she's in control. It's a huge mistake, man. So then she's in control of the relationship, and anything she says goes. And if you gave her the "I'll do anything to get you back" line, then dude, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You do not want to do that. That is a huge mistake. That sets you up for, what I call jumping through hoops. You got to jump through hoop over and over and over again. Well, if you love me, you'll do this. And if you want to be with me, you'll do this. And every this is a hoop you have to jump through. To like a little circus clown, like a little circus monkey, to make her happy. And it never will. There'll always be another hoop to jump through when she has the power in the relationship, and there isn't the right dynamic in the relationship. Huge, huge problem. Another issue is that intimacy will be very inconsistent. So if intimacy was consistent before, after you break up, then she has all the power. And so she decides if and when there's any intimacy. And you were going back thinking, oh, we'll get back to normal. Everything will be fine. No, it's not. Because this is a woman we're talking about. So there's going to be intimacy issues as you two work on the relationship and try to build it back. So that's always going to be an issue. Basically, the overall con is you're always walking on eggshells. When you get back, when she has all the power in the relationship, and even in life, I mean, look at your boss. There's some bosses you'll have where you always feel like you're walking on eggshells. Some family members, you feel like you're always walking on eggshells. It's because they have the power in that relationship. That's why. When you take the power back, eggshells are gone. When you run your life, eggshells are gone. And the problem is now she's running your life. She has all the power, so you're walking on the eggshells. So those are the pros and cons of getting your ex back. Now, let's go through the pros and cons of moving on. You got dumped. Now you're going to move on. We're going to start with the cons. We're going to flip it. We're going to start with the cons. The first one, you will have a time of discomfort and reflection. You got dumped. You feel bad. Feelings are hurt. Brokenhearted. You got a time of discomfort. But this is also a time of reflection. And if you use this time wisely, you can get to the point where you can analyze the relationship and find out what you did wrong. But no matter what, as you know, you're going to have a time of discomfort and reflection. That's all there is to it. You're the one that decides, though, how long that lasts. If you want it to last 6 months, you're wasting your life. I mean, it's absurd. You need coaching. You need to get coached out of that. You should 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. If it's a long-term relationship, 2 to 3 years, you should be over it in 4 to 6 weeks. And you should be dating already and moving on. That's all there is to it. And if you aren't over it that fast, then there are issues with you that you need to work on. And everybody's got issues. I'm not saying anything, everybody's got their stuff. But 4 to 6 weeks, you should be dating and moving on. No matter how long really the relationship was. So, next, you have to deal with the emotional flow of the breakup. There's always an emotional flow. It's different for everybody. You have to let the world know you broke up. You have to tell your parents. You have to tell your family. You tell your friends. You have to delete pictures off Facebook, blah, blah, blah. The whole mess. You have to let the world know. Okay? That's another con. Another con too is that you'll have that extra mental stress. You'll be thinking about it. You'll be, what could I have done better? You'll question yourself. You'll go through all that. And that's all normal, but it's just what I stress is it's normal to feel that way, but the time frame is what matters. You want to be able to shorten that time frame to as short a time frame as you can. And that comes with developing, being the center of your life and building your life how you want it and focusing on that, not on the woman. Okay. Now let's move on to the pros. These are the pros of moving on after a breakup. Okay? First one, your time of discomfort and reflection can be a huge opportunity for growth. If you do this correctly, this time is a time of growth. This is a time of moving forward. You can change everything. You literally can decide to change your entire life and do it. Because you don't have anything holding you back. You don't have any relationship that was kind of okay. You're gonna go through this time, and the further you get away from it, the more clearly you're gonna see what the relationship really was and what that person really was. And that's extremely, extremely important. That you analyze, you look at the relationship, and you get some clear glasses on so you can really see through a clear lens the traits of this person, how maybe she was manipulative, maybe she did this, she did that. You need to see those things. You need to see those things. It's very, very important. When you look at that, the thing you want to get out of it is you want to identify either mistakes you made in the relationship or what the issues were in the relationship, because your job is to fix those things, is to figure those things out, and then move to the next relationship and make it better. Because if you don't, you're just going to repeat cycles. And I'm can't stand when people repeat cycles in their life. People do it over and over again. That's why people are divorced 1, 2, 3 times, 4 times. It's because they're just repeating the same cycles. You're meeting them in the same way. You're going to the same stuff. You're doing the same things. It's the same type of person. And you just repeat cycles. And you end up divorced or broke up again. It's because they didn't analyze that relationship and didn't fix the issues in that relationship and in themselves so that they could operate better in the next one. So it's extremely important. You get to tell everyone you're single. That's another pro. It's time to say, hey, I'm single. I'm ready to go. And start putting yourself out there. You have more time for yourself. That's a huge pro. More time for yourself. More time for working out. More time for socializing. More time for exploring. More time for traveling. Traveling alone is great. I do it all the time. Traveling alone is great. You get to clear your head. You get to think. You get to make decisions. Sometimes I travel and I just sit back and it's solely for me to decide what the next 6 months is going to be. It's a really cool thing to do once you get used to doing it. You get to decide what you want out of your life and go for it. It's an opportunity. This is an opportunity. You should see a breakup as an opportunity to get better, an opportunity to make your next relationship better, opportunity to make you better, opportunity to set new goals, raise your standards. This is a huge opportunity. Okay. You got to understand that the more time away from the relationship, you're going to see that there may have been some opportunities that you had that you turned down or you didn't explore because of your ex. She either didn't want you to do it, she didn't like those types of people, she didn't want you hanging around them, she wanted you to stop this or that hobby, whatever it was. You have to realize that you now have the opportunity to do all that stuff that you may not have had if you're with her. That right there is a huge pro. Okay? Extremely, extremely important. So there's a lot of things to think about when you get your ex back, versus moving on. But all in all, my opinion is that moving on is the best route. You have to do a lot of work, and if you're going to get back with your ex, you have to be on your game. You have to be on top of it. You have to be established as far as in your manhood, how you operate. You have to, no compromise kind of thing, man, if you're going to get back with your ex, because you have to be able to take the power and the reins in the relationship and direct that relationship, and she needs to be okay with that. And if she's not, then it's not going to work, man. Moving on, finding a new girl, starting over new, you're a better man, you've learned, you're ready to have a better relationship. Move on and find another girl. So, you can get your ex back and we can help you do that and give you the best chance. But the pros say it right here that it's a better idea to move on. So until the next time, I appreciate you guys. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. It's a big deal for me. I want to build this channel up and to where we get a big community of guys that we're all helping each other out. So until next time, I'll see you.